Hi guys, the episode that you're just about to listen to is generously sponsored by our affiliates Board Game Crate. Board Game Crate provide a monthly subscription service where they get fresh new games delivered straight to your door. Just head over to www.boardgamecrate.co.uk, and furthermore, if you use our discount code UnluckyFrogIsAwesome, all lowercase, all one word, you'll get a cheeky little discount. It's easy to remember because it's true. Hello and welcome to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. You are joined by your usual hosts this week, Josh Hartley and Ben Porter. Ben, how are we doing?
Doing not bad. We're halfway through the week as of recording. But...
You were a bit like this last week though as well.
Yeah.
Right, just not quite enthused for...
sort of ambivalent, I guess.
Right. Okay. What we're not ambivalent about is our two guests this week.
Yeah.
Do you like that? Do you like that smooth segue?
Yeah, I think
good.
you kind of saved face a bit there because I could feel the hurt down the microphone emanating from our guests, but you pulled it back there.
We should probably introduce them.
Yeah.
So we have Andy and Andy, two of the organisers of the upcoming G3 convention in Glasgow.
Yeah. Well, no, the club is G3, and it's the Glasgow Games Gathering. See what they did there?
I see what they did there.
Yeah.
Are we shorthanding the gathering to the Glasgow Games Gathering to G3 Con or?
I think we did. I think it's one of the reasons we went with it, but it might just be confusing.
That's fair. But we're going to have a chat about what we can expect at the Glasgow Games Gathering, and just a general chat probably about miniatures war games as well. As all four of us definitely dabbled with that to some degree.
Plastic crack addicts for sure.
Plastic crack, indeed. However, as we normally do, shall we? What's been happening in the world of tabletop?
Right, so we've got a bit of news. I think first thing to cover off is Mythic Games, who have developed and published Solomon Kane. I think they did Joan of Arc as well.
They did do Joan of Arc, yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, so it's the miniatures are their thing. They have just announced that they are doing a game called Super Fantasy Brawl.
Okay. What does that entail then?
So, at the moment, we've only really been shown concept art of some of the characters, but it looks as though it's a sort of League of Legends type experience on the tabletop where you've got you've got your fighter, your brawler. They've got all these powers, and you've got cards that represent them. Details are a bit scant at the moment. Oh no, we do have a couple miniatures. We've got Dugrin and Tsu Zhao, who's like an anthropomorphic tiger dude.
Awesome. Yeah.
We'll have the link in the description for you to go and have a look at. But art style, it's pretty much what seems to be the standard for a lot of fantasy at the moment, that sort of heroic scale World of Warcraft-esque aesthetic.
Sure.
But I guess my reaction to this is there seems to be a lot of these types of games going out.
The sort of arena combat game, basically.
The sort of MOBA / hero shooter brought to the tabletop.
Yeah.
Arena combat is probably a good phrase.
We were actually having a chat about this before we hit the record button, right? And I was asking, do we count Kill Team as part of this? And obviously, with their new release, definitely falls within this. But I think that's Arena, probably been the tabletop evolution of this genre from like games like that. but obviously it's been informed by video games, as you point out, as well.
We've mentioned a couple of times how because video games is now a mature medium, whereas tabletop still has a ways to go, where there was once a time where tabletop was informing video game development, it's sort of been turned on its head now.
Aye, indeed.
And you're seeing a lot of ideas and concepts that have begun in video games now making their way over here. And
I think with a lot of video games now, as you say, they are informing tabletop games from a standpoint of tabletop games are looking at video games and saying, okay, how do we get these kids away from the screen and giving us money instead?
Absolutely, yeah. There is that.
It's an untapped market, basically. This is the experience those people want. How do we give that to them in a more analog way?
Yeah. Have you guys noticed particularly, has there been an interest in these types of games at the club?
Certainly Night Vault there's been a lot of Night Vault play at the club. It's not every week.
The people that I see playing it, I think they sort of went from War Machine through Malifaux, through Guild Ball to Underworlds.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I don't know whether they'll move on to things like this, but that seems to be the...
So it's a specific type of player that maybe wants a lower model count, a more streamlined experience.
I think you're right. It's a specific type of player who is looking at it from... whether they're looking at it from a less of a narrative experience and more a competitive experience.
Yeah.
They want to go to a lot of tournaments, and that's their driving side of the hobby.
That's their bread and butter.
Yeah. And it's kind of just by the nature of what these games are like, they're just a lot more streamlined for organised play as well. The fact that it's lower model counts means you can have more rounds in a day.
Yeah.
To conduct a tournament. I mean, anyone who's been to a Warhammer Fantasy or 40k tournament will know it's actually quite a mentally draining experience by the end of the day as well. And you'll only get like 4 games in a day.
You can almost see the division with the two schools of player with these sorts of games.
Yeah.
And to harken back to a video game analogy, it's almost like you've got your PvE players and your PvP players.
Yeah.
The guys who want a more immersive, sort of story-driven experience, who maybe want to take a bit more time with exploring a game world and developing a narrative, and then the guys that just want to cram as much competition in as they can. The guys that on video games would just queue up in matchmaking and just play game after game, just trying to streamline their skills and their builds.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well, you look at the rule sets that come with these games, and say for War Machine and Night Vault and things like these. And I play Bushido as well, and in these games the rule sets are quite tight in that they're very structured. It's like it's rather than just say, okay, melee, right, roll some dice, how many hits have you got, right, there you go. It's kind of like, right, now first of all you determine your dice pool, then you decide, then your opponent decides if you're going to use any special actions, and it's all kind of there's a definite structure as to how to do things, and it's a lot more structured than say 40k or Age of Sigmar or something like these, which are, I think, a lot more free form.
Yeah.
A lot of things exist in games like 40k and Age of Sigmar just because it makes sense in terms of narrative, but like you're saying, when you're designing a competitive game, your first consideration is balance, and if that aligns well with the theme and the world, then more
that's
power
great.
to you.
That's like a bonus.
Yeah, like to go back to like Warhammer Fantasy, your Empire troops were pants compared to all the other troops, just because they were the underdogs in that world, and that's how they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Empire was, as you say, your general troops or Skaven were terrible, but you made up for it in wacky war machines.
Yeah.
Whereas your things like your high elves were a lot better as general troops, and all these kind of things.
Uh-huh. It's back to we're saying, you know, some people want a more, you know, narrative driven experience. Some people want the
When do we think we'll see the first tabletop iteration of like the 100-person battle royale video game? You know, like PUBG.
I'm pretty sure there's a couple.
Fortnite.
The just to go on a weird tangent from that, you know, the Wings of War game, you know, the World War One biplanes.
Yes.
Game. They've run that at conventions with 50, 100 people aside with a plane each.
Just a big dogfight.
Yeah, it's a huge dogfight, and you get shot down, and the next guy comes in with his plane, and then it just goes round and round. So in a way, it's happening. It happens already.
Oh, fair enough.
I suppose it's a bit like the massive games of Armageddon they used to do for 40k as well.
Yeah.
You had all sorts of nonsense going on there, didn't you?
Yeah.
It is possible. It's whether people have the inclination to engineer that.
Because logistically, that just sounds. I'm having palpitations just trying to think of how on earth you herd that many cats.
Yeah.
Like...
it's where if you're doing it for 40k, where would you even find that many dice for the orc shooting phase?
Oh my god! Yeah, just basically fill a little bucket with D6 and just pour it out.
Just back in the forklift in.
Yeah. Just get one of those big dump trucks and.
That would be so satisfying.
Next news item is a little bit more disheartening.
Okay.
Games Factory, who are the Polish publisher of quite prolific games, actually. They've published King Domino.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually a Polish publisher for Dominion.
Yeah.
Hero Realms, Star Realms.
So some big titles.
Yeah, they've also done a couple of Kickstarters of their own. They have just announced that on the 11th of February 2019, they received notice from their president. They had a case of what they are calling financial mismanagement.
Right.
And the company have announced that they're basically shutting their doors for good, and that they are not going to be able to fulfill any existing Kickstarters they have. So naturally, a lot of people are quite disgruntled. But the strange thing is, apparently 6 months ago, there were some people that did a bit of investigating and knew then that they had not paid for the production of these upcoming games. They'd not paid the production crews in China.
Okay.
6 months ago.
So obviously these games were not being made because they
So it's just another one of these things where it's horrible, but Kickstarter is just ripe for malfeasance.
I mean, I said it in jest one week, but I really think we could just start making a weekly segment of who's been a dick on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
But
I would just encourage people, look, if you're thinking of backing a project, do your due diligence. Do a quick background check on any names you get. Find out a bit about the company, see what their track record is, and if it looks at all sketchy, it's not worth the risk.
Yeah, absolutely.
More often than not, these games will appear in buy, swap, and sell groups and in retailers eventually. So if you're having doubts at all, give it a buy.
Don't risk it. Yeah, don't risk it. Do either of you two guys have much experience with Kickstarter projects? Bad, good?
Well, my
your man for that.
Yeah, my top bad one was I backed the Robotech project done by Palladium. Yeah, pretty much that exactly.
It's a nice looking box on the shelf.
It's a nice looking box on the shelf, and the model design is, I believe the correct technical term for it is a disaster zone. When you're having to make hundreds of Veritech fighters out of 15 bits each and things like these.
That was a particularly horrifying debacle.
I think,
Was that not the one where one of the creators went suicidal?
That was the one where basically I think he licensed the Rifts thing to someone else to make a board game.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who was going to make the board game basically came onto the Robotech Kickstarter and said it basically boiled down to something like, it's in my power to, help the Robotech Kickstarter finally see its finished fulfillment, because we'd received Wave 1 by this point, which was the kind of box game, but there were still lots outstanding. But basically, so he said, it's in my power. I can do this, but I don't want anybody coming in and basically kind of crashing my party. And everybody just kind of, unfortunately, as the internet does, kind of tore into him, saying, you're basically coming on and holding us hostage here, saying if you come in and say bad things about me, then you just let the Robotech Kickstarter burn.
Yeah.
And then obviously
So what, he wasn't completely blameless is the point.
No, I don't think he was completely as I say, it was basically it was if you leave me alone, I'll help you out, but if you come in and say, Palladium's a terrible company, whatever, make my Kickstarter look bad, then basically you can, then I'll just walk away and, you'll get nothing type thing. Or I won't help.
I'm taking my ball and I'm going home.
And that's when obviously a couple of days later the news broke from Kevin Symbienda, the kind of head guy of Palladium, that this guy had tried to kill himself, and again, that was not another pretty episode, because a lot of people took that as like, you're just basically trying to shame the community about this, because obviously people said, there was some not very nice things said, but he's basically coming on and blaming the community, when in reality it was because people were so frustrated about this horribly mismanaged Kickstarter. And then to sum it all up, when it got to the end, he basically came on and said, basically was announced of, right, this is never going to happen. Harmony Gold are withdrawing Harmony Gold are losing the license, so they're not renewing our license, so we have to give up all the stock. We've only got Wave 1 stock, which they massively overproduced because they thought it would be the best thing since sliced bread, and we're hoping to sell it at all the cons, and then basically said, you can buy more Wave 1 stock using your money that you were owed from Wave 2, and you were kind of given pennies on the pound in terms of trade value.
Yeah,
so
I think in terms of bad Kickstarter stories, that's pretty much top of the pile.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry sorry to hear that you were one of the ones who backed it.
Yeah.
But has it put you off using Kickstarter as a platform?
Me personally, no. I mean, I still back Kickstarters. Like you say, though, I just, I do a bit more due diligence. I trust, I look at companies that I trust. Palladium Games, I've never had much of an interaction with before. And, I think as well, I just, but I take the attitude of, if you can't afford to lose it and see nothing, then don't do it, or don't back it to that level. Back it at a smaller level.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I've not had any. I mean, the worst sort of bad one I've had was the Mecton role-playing game rulebook, which dragged on for 7 years.
It dragged on for a long time.
But at least we got a refund for that.
Yeah, I mean, they
right, that's very rare, in fact.
Yeah.
I mean, it was quite surprising. They actually finally held their hands up, because they're in work to develop the Cyberpunk 2077 video game. And they finally held their hands up and basically said, look, we don't have the time to work on this because of this, so we're going to issue a refund to everybody. And I think they also said, if they do finish it,
we'll get it.
You'll get it anyway. We'll just give it to you for free.
It's about as amicable a settlement as you can get in those circumstances, I suppose.
It's the delays more than anything that puts me off Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Because I've had a few things now where I was really into it. There was the first Relic Knights Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
I went in for a ton on that, and it's all still in the box because when it arrived a year and a half later, it was like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember spending money on this.
Yeah.
Next.
And the thrill's gone by that point,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Although
Yeah.
I think it's just we didn't back the second Relic Knights Kickstarter because that's another one that's gone a bit
Oh,
horribly
yeah.
wrong.
Yes.
One of the guys
dear.
at our club is
Yeah, he's been banging on with the demos at shows for the last couple of years, all for nothing. It seems.
Well, this is it. So I mean, he was saying to me last week, I think basically all but about 2 of them of the company have left, and the 2 that are left aren't drawing a salary and all these kind of things. So.
The numbers I saw somewhere on a forum was something like they've got $250,000 of debt and 50 grand to cover it all.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
It's just, I was going to say, just sorry, as someone who works in finance as well, just hearing things like that just puts the fear in me.
Yeah.
So,
Last news item before we dive into Glasgow Games Gathering chat is last weekend, February 23rd, 24th, Magic the Gathering launched the first of their new high-tier competitive events.
Yes, the Pro Tour is no longer called the Pro Tour. It is now the Mythic Championship. Qualification is different.
Okay.
It's you can qualify by a number of means, including through Magic Arena, by placing highly enough in either.
So they're fully integrating the online.
They are really
component.
pushing the esports element of Magic Arena. They've figured out that that's where a lot of the money is now. So, there's been a number of different gripes about Magic's organised play of late. However, there is a bit of good news. We've got our first Mythic champion named.
Yep.
And it's the first time that a professional tour or professional level competition in Magic the Gathering has been won by a transgender person.
Yep. So congratulations, Autumn Burchett.
Yep. They piloted Mono Blue Aggro, I believe, if I remember from reading the
word
article.
salad to me, but yeah, well done all the same.
All of those words individually make sense. It's when you string them into that sentence that you lose me.
Mono Blue Aggro. No one.
Yeah.
So so congratulations, Autumn.
Championship, that's got some serious money behind it, isn't it? It's not like winning a 40k tournament and going home with a box set.
I'm not sure what the cash prize is for the Mythic Championship at the moment. I know the World Championship was.
Well, if you're saying they've got their eyes on esports.
They're starting to plough money into. But we're not.
We're not South Korea.
We're not. Yeah, we're not talking like League of Legends levels.
Yeah.
This is firmly 5 digits.
Yeah.
So, but it's still 5 digits.
Just to shit all over Autumn Burchett's achievement. It's not League of Legends, you know.
Autumn, if by chance you're listening, I'm sorry. You've done a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Andy, you are quite right. It is an actual cash prize, so it's a step up.
Yeah, you're still getting played to pay games, so it's nothing to be sniffed at.
Exactly.
I wouldn't mind winning 5 digits worth of money just to move toy soldiers about the board or something.
What? This isn't millions of pounds like League of Legends. This is terrible. What kind of sham is this?
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
If somebody can point me towards the miniatures game circuit where I can get paid thousands to be mediocre, that would be. I think that's the one I'd need.
Yeah. Well, there might be that.
It's the one we'd all need.
Yeah. But not the tournament we deserve.
Nothing says greatness like a participation prize.
Yay!
Yeah.
That was me at UK Games Festival at the Underworld.
Yeah.
The best prize I ever got at a tournament was Best in Faction at a War Machine tournament because I was the only person playing that faction.
Nice. Nice.
Half a success is showing up, so
Yeah, exactly.
you earned that.
You earned it.
Should we talk about Glasgow Games Gathering now?
We should probably cover it, given that we've got two of the organisers on the show. So yes, guys. So we've mentioned the gathering in previous episodes, but for those of our listeners who haven't caught that, give us an overview of what people can expect.
There's not really been a war game show on in Glasgow since about 2013, and after a lot of shoegazing and waiting for someone else to do it.
Yeah, we kind of figured it was either ourselves or nothing. I think what they can expect is, like Andy says, primarily it is a war game show. You know, we're aiming to get a lot of traders of various genres of miniatures, historical, fantasy, a lot of demo games, all these kind of things. But we're also looking to, incorporate other types of gaming, because at the end of the day, you know, it's something we all enjoy. So we've got some board game companies coming. We've got some demo games that will fill those as well. The big news just recently is that we've got Asmodee coming to do demo tables there as well. So
fantastic! Yeah.
So
can we reveal what Asmodee will be likely demoing?
it's unfortunately because we ourselves are still in kind of communication with them on that matter. But hopefully it'll be some good stuff, especially as it's just after. Obviously, our show is just after Games Expo, so
Yeah, because one of the Glasgow-based demo guys is part of our club, so I think that that helps.
yes, yeah,
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Foot in the door.
The man on the inside.
yeah. Well, he did help. He kind of he put in a good word for us and put us in touch with the right people to speak to start with. So yeah, it was great for that as well.
I think to be honest, we'll be happy for them to put in whatever games they fancy bringing.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think for a first year, I think managing to get Asmodee to come and do some tables is great.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's one of the things we've mentioned a couple of times to the Tabletop Scotland guys. When you get a big name like that, not that you were illegitimate before, but it definitely
People start to notice.
It lends you an air of legitimacy, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
certainly, I think it you are right. It takes you out of that kind of like, oh, it's just a small wee local show. And as you say, it gives you a bit of legitimacy, a bit of weight type thing. And certainly, there are some other kind of big guys there. As I say, we've got Asmodee coming on the board game front. We've got we've got a few board games companies, like a lot of kind of local ones like One Free Elephant and Dream Big Games, all these kind of things. Well, one of the big folk we've got coming is we've got Warlord Games coming, which is quite good for us.
Warlord do quite a lot of the historical miniatures, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, they do a lot of kind of historical World War II, but they're also branching out into fantasy as well, and sci-fi with the kind of
Stuff.
yeah. So
I was just thinking, I was sure they did a TV license. It was
There
the
you go.
Doctor Who miniatures game. There we are.
So, and then we've got some stores, so we're hoping that people will be able to come and buy, board games, miniatures, all these kind of things, and play some, and we've got a lot of demo games as well. I think we're near about 24, 25 games, most of which are participation game. The majority of them are participation games that people will be able to take part in on the day.
Oh, awesome. What games can people try out then, maybe for the first time on the day?
Well, we've got as I say, we've got some traders coming. So things like Dream Big Games, they've got their Wreck and Ruin, which is obviously just come out of Kickstarter.
Of course. I was just going to say Dream Big, which is Mark McKinnon,
Yep.
of Wreck and Ruin fame.
Yeah.
I was hoping Ben would say that in synchrony with me, but no.
Okay.
No.
I just left you to it.
Yeah, there we go.
Just threw you under the bus.
I'll do my bit by myself.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Wreck and Ruin's great fun. That's getting shipped.
Yes, I literally saw that today on Twitter. That's getting shipped.
That's someone who hasn't been a dick on Kickstarter.
Kickstarter does its exact idea of a guy has an idea and wants to make it happen, and it's succeeded instead of just running away to a life of, I don't know. Yeah,
just running away with the money.
Away with all your money.
Do you think Monaco is full of all these people that have
the Kickstarter elite?
Well, to be fair, that might be where some of them go to try and save their Kickstarter.
All right, all on black.
All on black. Yeah, or possibly maybe depending on the size of it, maybe Skegness.
Are you planning on running any tournaments by any chance?
I don't think we'll have the time.
Yeah.
I mean, unlike the Tabletop Scotland, it's what 10 hours. It's what kind of like noon till 10, that sort of time frame. 10 till 4. So
yeah, we've got 10 till 4. So
it's on our list of things to do in the future, certainly.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few things that we will freely admit. There's a few things we can't do this year that we'd like to grow into. Like Andy said,
of course,
tournaments, open play space. We'd love to have open play space for things like board gamers and stuff. Because we have that. We know through. I've been to Expo. I've been to Tabletop Scotland. It's very much a big thing compared to war game shows as you have open play space. But again, unfortunately, just this year we don't have the room for it, and the time really. Again, a lot of these things are open quite late.
I think a lot of it's been a kind of learning thing as to what goes on. I mean, certainly, if Andy's been down at Games Expo a couple of years previously, I've really come into it from the kind of the sort of wargaming shows like Carronade in Falkirk or Claymore in Edinburgh, and they're just sort of old school wargaming. It's an afternoon, you go there and spend your money and maybe get a quick demo game of something. And I'm kind of finding out as we go along all the other stuff that happens at the more board gaming kind of events.
Yeah.
So yeah, the stuff that's kind of going, we could do that.
I mean, this is it. Like Andy says, the kind of wargaming and board gaming events are they're very different things. They're very different animals. It's like wargaming show, you just turn up. There's a bunch of traders there, and there's some clubs putting on demo games, and you just you turn up and spend money and that's it. Whereas I think board gaming shows are very different. You turn up and you buy a board game, but you've got games libraries and play space and all these kind of things.
I think that's the challenge with miniatures wargaming, just by its nature of how big the games are. It is logistically very difficult to do any sort of organised play just on the day.
Yes.
I was going to say, it's gone back to the kind of the use item. All these kind of sort of arena battle games are kind of more suited to this sort of thing.
Yeah.
If we did have some open play space, you could rock up with a copy of Underworlds or whatever else.
Yes. And
thrash that out for a half an hour, or you'd have time for 3 or 4 rounds of a tournament in the time we've got. So I think that's.
I mean, that all being said, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that they used to do at the Games Days that Games Workshop used to host, and since that's disappeared and it's been repurposed into Warhammer Fest, I feel like that there's a gap in the market for these sorts of events where you can rock up with an army and take part in a ridiculous, massive battle that scales
an apocalypse game that spans 20 tables.
Yeah.
And you've just got someone in the middle with a microphone just almost I imagine being that guy. And I've seen that happen. I've seen online some games, 40k games that are so big that they have to have some master of ceremonies actually conducting when people do their dice rolls. I imagine that person is a lot like the fella in a rowing boat just going stroke, stroke, stroke. So it's roll dice, measure distance, declare charges.
It's like, it's this phase. Everybody do something.
Yeah, I remember that. I went to a couple of games days in the 90s, and yeah, there was a fair amount of that. Yeah.
Too many people.
So what,
too many kids shouting "wah."
We've witnessed that.
Yeah,
It wasn't a
I've
kid,
been
it was a
there.
It was a
grown-ass
grown man
Yeah.
warring. What just ward in the middle of Warhammer World.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and people applauded him.
Were you?
I was like, why? Don't applaud that. Don't encourage that.
Of course, you would say that being a dwarf player.
Were you,
Yeah,
Andy?
that's true.
Were you at the Warhammer Fest with me when the whole room shouted "wag" and the armed police officer almost?
Yeah. The Warhammer Fest. I think that was 2017, where the entire room broke into a kind of wah, and in the essence of, if you remember the old Tiger Woods, "I am Tiger Woods" advert, just kind of carried around the room, and the armed police officer kind of looked up in a quick moment. You're like, oh no, this could go south very quickly.
Was
Just like, get on the ground! Get on the ground!
Was he? Sorry, was he armed police or was he an agent from the Imperium? just
Commissar.
Yeah. There we go. So, I mean, aside from Glasgow Games Gathering, what games have you guys been playing lately? Then, obviously, you're into the miniatures war games. Anything been taking your fancy of late?
I've been trying to run a Necromunda campaign at the club, so I've been playing a lot of that recently, and the Blackstone Fortress board game with Andy and a couple of the other guys.
Here's a question for you then, Andy. Do you feel like Necromunda is losing a lot of traction since Kill Teams come on the scene?
I think, to be honest, it was the other way around. It was an odd one. We all started playing Necromunda when the box game came out last year.
Aye.
And then we played that for a bit, and then Kill Team went out, and we all kind of went, ooh, shiny new thing. And then the new Necromunda rules came out again, and they finished releasing the gangs, and we've all just run straight back to Necromunda again.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I think, the only similarity is that they're in the 40k setting, and you only use a dozen figures. You know, they both play really differently. And I'm quite happy.
Well, your Necromunda gangs, compared to the power level of some of those kill teams, like I'd hate to pit like an Orlok gang against like a kitted out like Death Guard squad. Just they didn't stand a chance. Like, it's interesting though, because I haven't been so involved in miniatures gaming for a little while. The last one that really hooked me was Underworlds, and then I've been cool on it for a little bit. But I've recently got the itch for Kill Team, and I built up my Secret Santa present from Ben, which was a Death Guard squad. And now I seem to have somehow come into possession of some MDF terrain. I don't know how that happened.
Fell in your electronic basket.
Yes, and I hit click. Yeah. And so now I've got like a terrain project on the go, and I've got some painting to do for miniatures as well. And like
it's just
starting to get a bit of a buzz for it again.
Yeah, that's just the glue fumes.
Yes. Yeah. Happy memories.
Yeah.
How about yourself, Andy? What have you been busy with?
Well, gaming wise, actually, I've been going the other way. I've actually been playing more board games of late. Recently, we've obviously I've been playing Blackstone Fortress with Andy. Me and some of the other guys at the club. We've just finished up a big second edition Descent campaign. The kind of dungeon crawler from Fantasy Flight. Which was really good. And we're also trying. We just played Heroes of Terrinoth, which is the kind of reskinned. If you remember, Fantasy Flight did a Warhammer Quest card game.
That's right. And they rushed this out.
Their Terrinoth setting. And I never played the Warhammer Quest version, but the other two guys I was playing with did, and I asked them, is it similar? And they said, it's exactly the same. It's exactly
just a reskin. Yeah.
Well, it's literally just been reskinned into Terrinoth.
Well, that's good then, because it's quite hard to come by that Warhammer Quest card game.
Yeah.
Although the real hot one, and I don't know if you've ever played it, the Blood Bowl Team Manager.
Blood Bowl Team Manager is very good.
Fine game.
That was excellent.
Yeah, it was really good.
costs a fortune now.
Well, particularly one of the expansions goes for like crazy money.
Yeah.
As well, but yeah, I mean, obviously, it is a bit of a shame that Fantasy Flight no longer have that license. But I like in hindsight, because that was a couple of years now that they lost
but
that, right?
it was inevitable because they're now a direct competitor.
Yeah,
aren't they,
I suspect when
games?
Fantasy Flight started moving into miniatures, especially with X-Wing.
X-Wing, yeah, X-Wing and Armada were quite big.
GW started ramping up their board games. I think they very much became more direct competitors rather than gunning for different markets. You know.
There was just when you mentioned the reskin. Sorry for another odd tangent. I saw a thing today of a reskin of Talisman, because now it's is it Gale Force now? It's not. No.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It's not. It's WizKids now that are doing.
Yeah.
They're doing GW board games. They're doing Fury of Dracula.
Okay.
Talisman. And they're doing a reskin for what's the...
It's Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
I saw this news about...
That's right, yeah.
Live, yeah. So it's quite an odd thing, yeah.
It's Talisman Kingdom Hearts.
I feel like I'm like the only person on the planet who hasn't played Kingdom Hearts.
No, I've not either.
Oh, it's okay, I haven't played Kingdom Hearts either, so we're probably...
Oh, thank
God.
God.
Probably the last four, though.
Yeah, yeah. We can be the grumpy old men talking about how back in my day JRPGs were two-dimensional and it didn't involve bloody Disney.
Yeah.
Sephiroth
and Mickey never appeared on the same
Final
screen.
Fantasy VII and you liked it. I did quite like it.
So that was a little unexpected. I did see that earlier this week though.
I mean, Final Fantasy and Disney's already a weird mashup.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Why not throw Talisman
again,
into
I think
it?
kind of going back to what we were saying about the kind of MOBA tabletop games that are coming out. It's just basically how can we get kids off screens and playing board games and this is a way to do it.
I'm gonna say something that's probably gonna be unpopular with a few listeners.
Go on.
But I assure those people they are looking at Talisman through rose-tinted glasses.
Oh.
I've played that game a few times now, and it is not as good as people make it out to be.
No, I'm not a fan myself.
Yeah, you're right on that. I mean, I've played it once or twice, and it's good, but it's certainly, I think, 50% of fond memories is nostalgia.
I think it's aged poorly.
Yeah.
Basically,
yeah.
You can tell it was like designed in the 1980s.
I seem to remember the only actual decision you have to make as a player is do you go left or do you go right?
That's basically it.
Yeah.
And sometimes games like that are quite fun. We both love Tales of Arabian Nights.
Yeah,
right.
There's a lot of random in that,
but that's more storytelling.
Yeah,
and just the daft things that can happen in that game. Whereas Talisman just feels like hours and hours and hours of stuff happening to you. Some people love it, and it definitely has a place in history, right? I'm not denying that, but I think from a modern perspective, it has not aged as well as some people would have you believe.
It's a bit like the Beatles analogy that we.
Well, hold on, right? Hold on.
No,
hold on.
Yeah. No. Right. No, I'm going ahead with this. Stop waving your hand at me. Right. So, whether or not you like the Beatles, you cannot deny their importance in music.
Aye.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They wrote some weird stuff, but they also wrote some good stuff. But the legacy of the Beatles, whether or not you like it, is just the influence that they had on music. And some people have come along who are, you could argue are better than the Beatles, and I think the same applies for any art. It applies to games as well.
Yeah, of course.
There are games like Catan, Talisman. There are games that exist that do very similar things and do it a lot better and in a more polished way than those do, but they will always have that important place in history where if these games didn't exist, you wouldn't have...
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that. I will allow that comparison.
Yeah.
True. However, you'll probably be disappointed that that none of these games, nor the Beatles, will be at Glasgow Games Gathering.
Aye, and I was just going to
Good.
say, just before we sign off, just remind our listeners, when is Glasgow Games Gathering happening, and where can they find out more information about it?
It is on the Saturday, the 29th of June at Bellahouston Sports Centre in the west of Glasgow.
Yeah, west of Glasgow.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find out more about it. You can find us on Facebook under G3 Gamers. We're on Twitter as @GlasgowG3, and the website is g3gamers.co.uk, and you can grab any of us.
Yeah, grab any of us there. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Andy and Andy, thank you very much for coming on. Are we going to have? We said before the recording, we feel like you could be like the two Ronnies of miniatures gaming.
Yeah.
So.
Sadly, I'm about the right shape for that.
But yeah, guys, we'll obviously post links in the show notes, and if any further,
we will be at Glasgow Games.
we will be
Gathering.
there.
Well,
Yeah. So
it would be great to see you along.
come beat me at Warhammer Underworlds. Thanks again for coming on, guys, and thank you very much for listening back home. Until next time, take care. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.